everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the
Geek Buddies!
Yeah, we're coming to you live. Well, not live, but we're recording this live here on an early morning on the weekend here to talk
We're recording live. We're recording live, everybody.
Live to record, I think is well, live to tape. There we go. But we are excited to be diving into a bunch of stuff that happened this past week. You know, we had a Geek Buddies episode on Monday. Hope you all watched that. But a few days of geekdom has happened with Star Wars Celebration, a Daredevil Born Again season finale, and a bunch of new trailers that dropped this week. And we're going to cover all of that here on the Geek Buddies. But let's introduce ourselves for those of you who may be new to our show. I am John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated TV shows, movies, and now video games.
Ooh. And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where you can see me on the full 15 episodes. You see me in 2, but the full 15 episodes are out for The Pit on Max, which gained on its audience 13 weeks in a row. Every time a new episode came out, more people watched it, which is kind of unheard of for a series.
Was it because? Do you think it was because of you?
I mean, it started after episode 2, so that makes sense.
I'm just saying. The statistics don't lie.
The statistics, we can make them say what we want them to say.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, Mike, you alluded to this just now in your conversation, in your introduction. What can you say about your new position here? Can you say anything? Can you reveal anything?
I think I can, because it went up on LinkedIn and it got announced. But yeah, I took a new job. I'm working with a virtual reality company called Another Axiom, who has a virtual reality game called Gorilla Tag, and I am the general manager of Monkey Business Entertainment, the IP entertainment arm of the company that's gonna help expand Gorilla Tag to a bunch of other platforms. So I am going to be dealing with virtual reality and lots of headsets and gorillas for a little bit. It's going to be really exciting. So still working on some other projects as well. But yes, that's the one that is going to take up the most of my time. And this week was spent figuring out all the ins and outs of my new virtual reality job. So whole new chapter of exciting things.
That does sound exciting. And just by random coincidence, I pulled out my Oculus 2, brushed the dust off this thing a few days ago. So hearing you're going to get into virtual reality, it makes me want to update for the new Oculus so I can play maybe some of those games that you're in charge of or create, man. It would be a lot of fun.
I mean, you'll watch more Gorilla Tag than you did Strawberry Shortcake. It'll be amazing.
Hey, you know what? Do we do that here? I don't recall that we do that here, but hey, you know what?
Good morning.
But yeah, we are here to talk about all the stuff going on in the world of entertainment. Congratulations to both of my fellow colleagues for all the work they've been doing over the last few months and the good announcements they've had here. But we're here to talk about geek stuff. So let's kick it off right off the bat here with Star Wars Celebration. This is happening there in Tokyo, Japan. I almost went, but in the end, I'm kind of glad I didn't go because of all the stuff that's going on in the world. But we got Ahsoka Season 2 announcements that were dropped here. The Kennedy and Filoni confirmed that Star Wars films by James Mangold, Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, Taika Waititi, and a new trilogy by Simon Kinberg are still in development. Star Wars Starfighter was announced here by Sean Levy with Ryan Gosling making an appearance as well. We got ourselves some Mandalorian and Grogu footage here with them cutely fighting over a little Grogu there. We also got to see the new Balin Skull there, Rory McCann with a nice shot overall, and announcement for Star Wars Maul, Shadow Lord, with Sam Witwer returning to voice Maul, and even Sigourney Weaver got in on the act talking about her role in the upcoming Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So a lot was announced there. So interesting stuff to talk about. Michael, which announcement stood out to you? We also had a second season, which is now currently on Disney Plus, of the ILM show. So what are your thoughts on this celebration, and which announcements stand out to you?
Well, I mean, I think that the thing that stands out the most to me is the thing that I didn't know they were going to talk about, which is the Maul animated series. And again, as we were saying on the text chain, Disney Plus and Lucasfilm, when they say animated series, I I wait until I know how long that animated series is. Is this a actual multi-season series about Maul, or is this we're dropping 4 episodes, each one is 15 minutes, but it's a great series about Maul? So I'm hoping for the former. But yeah, look, I think for a lot of people, the animated universe that Filoni has really put together between Clone Wars and Rebels and Bad Batch and the Tales of the Jedi and the Tales of the Empire and the upcoming Tales of Bounty Hunters, I think those characters and that part of the universe and kind of filling in a lot of the gaps of the prequels and the live action movies and everything else, for a lot of people, that's their Star Wars. And I think what Sam Witwer has done with Darth Maul is kind of nothing short of amazing. Like a character that everyone loved in the prequel in Phantom Menace and was kind of annoyed that he got cut in half so that George Lucas could say that he was absolutely unequivocally dead. And then subsequently we decided he was not dead, brought him back, and that's the best that Maul's ever been. So this version of Darth Maul is one of the best things in Star Wars. And so I think the idea that we're going to get this real Maul-focused series and kind of fill in the time from the end of Clone Wars up until we meet him in Rebels when he approaches Ezra Bridger, I think is really, really exciting. I think the other footage, I think a lot of us have seen bits and pieces of the footage. I think the Mandalorian and Grogu footage looked really cool. Like everything else that kind of, when they say that absolutely these movies are absolutely in production and happening, I still don't believe half of them were ever going to see the light of day, but great that they announced it. But yeah, I think for me, the Darth Maul stuff was the most exciting.
Yeah, he's also taken on a young Twi'lek that he seemingly met before as an apprentice. So that's going to be an interesting element of the animated series as well. And they did screen a trailer. So there might be a trailer coming soon for us to talk about or react to as well. So it's an interesting choice you make there. Shannon, there was also Star Wars Ahsoka was announced here that the season 2 is going to be shooting right after Celebration. That's going to go forward. And that Hayden Christensen will be back to be a part of Ahsoka season 2. He was there and got a lot of love. So what stood out to you? What announcements caught your eye? What are your thoughts on all this stuff?
I mean, the main thing, looking at some of the videos that came out of Tokyo, the main thing is just the reception that Hayden Christensen and Ahmed Best both got. And, as someone who was not like the biggest fan of Hayden Christensen's in the prequels, getting to see him return to the franchise and see how he is just embraced by the fandom along with Ahmed Best, that's something that just kind of warms my heart, because it's just kind of like they went through a period where this was tough. I mean, they did a thing, they thought it was going to change their lives, and it did, but it did not come without its trials and tribulations. And to see them both come out the other end re-embraced by the fandom, it's just a nice thing to see, especially in kind of the world we're living right now. But in terms of the things, I mean, that first shot of Rory McCann as Baylan Skoll, I mean, that's something that really got me excited. I mean, the tragic passing of Ray Stevenson, we're never going to get over. But knowing that Rory McCann is such an accomplished performer, knowing that he did have a personal relationship with Ray Stevenson, watching him being able to come in and be able to pick up the torch from his friend who passed. I think there's a lot of kind of beautiful poetry there. And hopefully Ahsoka season 2 delivers more on what I think we were hoping Ahsoka season 1 was going to be.
Yeah. I think for me, the Star Wars Starlighter stuff. I mean, Sean Levy coming out, bringing out Ryan Gosling, which I thought was really cool. The title, it doesn't excite me, which I think we talked about on our thread necessarily. But, you keep your options open. You keep your mind open to see what it's going to be. Ryan Gosling showing up, no surprise there. I do take a little bit of umbrage with Sean saying there's a lot of rumors on the internet about our movie. It's not true, but Ryan Gosling is true. And also, this is going to be set apart. And also, there's so many things that he talked about that had already been reported.
The rumors aren't true, but let me confirm half of the rumors that are out there about my movie.
Exactly. I thought that was a little bit ridiculous, but whatever. That's the game and the way it is. But they did say it's neither a prequel nor a sequel, and will explore at a period of time not chronicled in other Star Wars projects, and it'll feature a whole new cast of characters. And, this is right after they took a little egg on their face with Mikey Madison turning down being a part of this movie. So there's been rumors about, we talked about on Jodie Comer, Jesse Plemons possibly joining the project, but clearly there's a point of view here that I think this is, and he's going to have and the rumors are it's a 15-year-old who's going to be essentially mentoring. So for me, this now becomes a much more original trilogy type approach to Star Wars. I thought maybe they were going to go a little darker with some of the actors they were kicking around to possibly be a part of this, but now clearly, if it's called Starlighter, I mean, you just sense that this
Starfighter.
I think it's Starfighter.
Starfighter, not Starlighter. I was thinking the boys. Starfighter. Listen, it's 8 a.m. This is going to be a little bit more of a type movie.
But I love. We talked about this like when they announced the cast, and you were like, it's going to be dark. You were like, yeah, I like this cast. It's going to be dark because it stars Ryan Gosling from the Fall Guy and Barbie movie. And we were like, why do you think it's going to be dark? And now the name of the movie is Starfighter. And based on the name Starfighter, you're like, oh, it's clearly 4 quadrant. I'm really curious where you're getting all of this from based on zero information.
Starfighter is not a dark sounding name. Let's just put that on the table right now. It sounds like something and a 15-year-old lead. So I don't imagine they're going to do that and go dark with it. So all of the elements involved in it. I wanted it to be dark. I didn't say it was going to be dark. I was hoping it'd be dark, but the way that's going, it's going. And it seems like it's going to be fun. And Sean Levy certainly knows how to do mainstream projects that a lot of people enjoy. So I thought it was a good presentation. I also thought the Mandalorian and Grogu stuff. I didn't watch any of the leaked footage that is out there. But I did see some of the images which were exciting. And Sigourney Weaver coming in and talking about that was really cool. And shout out to Pedro in those boots. I mean, shout out to Pedro in those boots. But overall, I thought this was so far a really good celebration, but not exciting with massive announcements. It's a good, solid celebration. Good, solid bunch of announcements. And I agree with you, Michael. I initially was kind of meh about the mall stuff, but as I've read more and watched and saw some of the pictures, I'm a little more on board with this series now, and I agree with you. I hope it's a series and not just a series of 15-minute
John Rocha, I want dark Star Wars, but I was meh on the series that focused the one character that they let be dark in Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, just the animation. Anyway, all right, go ahead.
God.
Anything more you want to say?
Well, I'm not going to say whether or not I watched the leaked footage of Mandalorian and Grogu, but if I had watched the leaked footage of Mandalorian and Grogu, I think my concern would be I think Mandalorian and Grogu looks really good on Disney Plus. I don't love every episode. I think they maybe got a little bit off track in season 3, but in general, Mandalorian and Grogu looks good on Disney Plus. And I think one of the challenges they're going to have with Mandalorian and Grogu, the movie, is will it really feel like a movie?
Yeah.
Or is it going to feel like a TV show on the big screen? And this is something that X-Files dealt with this. There's been plenty of TV shows where they went the big budget route. We're going to do a movie. We're going to go into a movie after the series is done. We're going to do a movie between seasons. And there's always even though Pedro Pascal is by any stretch, one of the biggest movie stars we have today. And there's definitely a lot of reasons, but I am worried about whether it feels like this is a event that we got to go to the movies for, or this is really good, but this feels like 4 episodes of the TV show. This could have been season 4. That's what I'm worried about.
Are you talking about in scope of visuals or in scope of story?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, obviously they're going to have a budget, and they're and again, if you've seen some of the footage, not that I have, there's definitely some big things they show in there that are pretty spectacular, but I think that we've seen a crate dragon in season 2 of Mandalorian and Grogu. They've done some pretty fantastic visuals in series as well. So I have no doubt that we're going to see awesome stuff on the screen, but it's more in the scope of the story and how it sort of takes the story of Din Djarin and Grogu and what's the reason for this being a movie? The reason for it being a movie is they needed to get a Star Wars movie out, and this was the easiest one. And they're we're going to get this in theaters. Right. But if it feels like that's the only reason, I don't know how fans are going to respond. Whereas if this really doubles down on their relationship, has some big reveals about Din Djarin and Grogu, really has a feeling of oh, this is a big story. And it's ILM and it's Lucasfilm. If they wanted to have AT-ATs and snowtroopers and giant huts in rings in the series, they could do that too. So it's more in the tone and the feel of what the movie's about.
Well, and it's clear that and they announced that they shot this for IMAX, so clearly they're going with a theatrical approach in terms of the way they're shooting it and the way they want it to appear on screen. But I hear you. Is the story going to be something that matches a theatrical interpretation? Because I mean, for all the success of Moana 2 and all the money it made, you can tell that was a TV series approach to that film, and they cobbled that all together and what have you. Will that be the same approach they have here? So I think those are legitimate concerns for sure. But that footage seems to be getting raves from everybody who saw it that was in it.
No. And I mean, and I didn't see it, maybe, but if I had, no, and honestly, I think probably Moana 2 is going to be the right thing. Like, people love Mandalorian and they love Grogu, and kids love Grogu. So I have a feeling that at the end of the day, whether I think that this is a great Star Wars movie or it's just a really good episode, expanded episode of Mandalorian and Grogu, I think just like Moana 2, from a business standpoint, I think Disney, I think Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy and everybody are probably going to be able to take a victory lap after opening weekend. If I had to guess, I think this will get people out in theaters and it'll have a pretty huge opening weekend, and we'll have Star Wars is back and whatever, even if some people are like, it was fine. So we'll see. I hope it's great, but we'll see.
What are your thoughts on that, Shannon? Anything more as we wrap up here this section?
You know, I'm hopeful. I like watching Star Wars in a packed theater full of fans. So hopefully hopefully this will deliver the experience that some of the more recent theatrical entries have not delivered. And just one other thing, because we didn't talk about it, was the hat that Ryan Gosling wore.
Oh yeah, let me put that up.
Said never tell me the odds. And I think if you're looking for a roguish successor to Harrison Ford, I think Ryan Gosling is he's a pretty good standard bearer. And also the fact that so many Star Wars movies have been announced and none of them have come to theaters. Again, him wearing a hat that says never tell me the odds, I think that's fairly appropriate.
Well,
it's a nice
and irony. The last two things about Starfighter, really quick, just to confirm, it's 5 years after Rise of Skywalker. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And they did say maybe some characters from the sequel trilogy might show up.
Yes. Even though, but they're saying though that it's a separate and standalone thing. So I don't know how the characters.
Well, it's a universe. I mean, like what they're saying, like that's where like that. It's not a sequel or it's standalone. Is still. It's like it's in the Star Wars universe. It takes place 5 years after Rise of Skywalker. So the First Order has fallen. Apparently, ostensibly, Rey is going to be somewhere creating a Jedi Order that we will hear about at some point. And there's a new form of government being built in the galaxy. So even if it's standalone, in the same way that Skeleton Crew is standalone, it still contextually fits into the story we know. And there are characters that exist in this period of time. Like if it's like my bet would be, look, if this movie's called Starfighter and there's any kind of starfighters in it at all, chances of Poe Dameron showing up are relatively high.
I like that idea. I'd be down for that for sure. Maybe Force Leia floating by as well. All right. Anyway, that's Star Wars Celebration for you. Let's move on to some trailers. What do you got for us, Shannon?
We got trailers. That's a different tone, and I'll explain when we get there. So the first one, on April 18th, it was Superman Day. And as it was Superman Day, James Gunn WB released a new look at Superman. So this was mainly a behind-the-scenes look. It had a lot of little snippets of James Gunn chatting, basically how he got to the project, little bits with Peter Safran, with we saw Rachel Brosnahan and David Cornsweet and Nicholas Hoult on the set. We got our first really, really good look at Anthony Carrigan's Metamorpho, at least from the waist up. We had little bits with Nathan Fillion, Eddie Gathegi. You just saw the love that is being put into this in terms of like what we as fans, I think, want to hear. They said all the right things, and just for me at least, got me more excited to see this movie. And in a week full of Disney news, I think they wanted to get a little something out for Superman. But Mikey, why don't we throw it over to you first? What did you think of our behind the scenes look at Superman?
I think they're kind of running into this issue of like, if we did get a good look at Metamorpho and we did see some nice stuff, but like at this point with the movie kind of coming out pretty soon and everything else, like if you're gonna put more stuff out there, give us more stuff. Like this for the most part, and I liked it, and it was Superman Day, and I was happy to see it, and I'm already stoked and excited for the movie. But at this point, this felt like a, hey guys, I know half of you are mad at James Gunn. Let me put a thing out here to where all the actors can talk about how passionate James Gunn is. And that's great. And I'm thrilled that Peter Safran is like, he didn't want to write a Superman movie until he had a take. And everyone was like, yep, James Gunn, we trust in him. He's passionate. And I'm like, this is great, but this is actually more about James Gunn right now than it is about Superman. And if it's Superman Day, show me some new footage. Give me a big new reveal about the movie. Tell me something. And like, it was like, I felt like it was heavier on James Gunn and lighter on show me what I'm going to be getting when I see this new Superman in July for me. But I'm happy. I'm excited. I can't wait to see it. So I'm already sold. So it was like, that was lovely. But yeah, that was my take on it.
Johnny, what'd you think? Did it leave you happy, or are you like Captain Grumpy Underpants up there?
No, I wouldn't say I'm Captain Grumpy Underpants, but this is the peril when you work in this business. And I don't mean work as a creative, because obviously I don't do that anymore, but as a person who analyzes and, has sources and talks to people and whatever who are in the business behind the scenes. Michael is spot on. This was absolutely a trailer to kiss James Gunn's ass, not Superman's ass. There should have been much more in this trailer about the movie. Look, I liked what we got. And like Michael, I'm excited. Regardless of people went after my Man of Steel post yesterday. Like, why don't you just move on? And it's like, I already said I liked the trailer. I love the trailer. Go watch my reaction. So I'm excited to see what we're going to. I didn't like that behind the sneak peek, but I'm still excited to see the movie. But this trailer ending with Rachel Brosnahan saying, "In James Gunn we trust," for the love of God. I mean, to me, it's a little bit about, let's make sure people aren't mad at James Gunn. And it should have been about Superman. I wanted David Corenswet talking about how inspiring this Superman was. I don't want to hear from James Gunn when he was 5 years old, loving Superman, and then, sending all those tweets that he sent a few years ago and all the things that he did. So,
okay.
I'm just saying, when you know someone's history, it makes it a little bit harder to buy into. Whereas Ryan Gosling his mom showing his Star Wars, bed sheets at 5 years old, that was endearing. That was sweet. This is a little more damage control or PR. And to me, that kind of bothered me. But what we saw with Rachel Brosnahan was great. Her walking through the Daily Planet, her talking with Perry White, that was cool. The Metamorpho stuff, the Hawk Girl stuff was really cool to see as well. But I'm with Michael. I think for the most part, I would have liked to have seen more Superman stuff, more Superman footage. This felt very much like, let's make sure people understand that James Gunn is an awesome dude.
And like, look, you can say, like, just to be fair, and I'm walking the tightrope of Superman shit where I'm going to get yelled at on Twitter, but like, this was the problem with Zack Snyder, and they're sort of repeating history a little bit with James Gunn. Like, Zack Snyder's universe became way more about Zack Snyder than it did about Superman or Batman. Like, everything was, this is what Zack Snyder thinks about Superman. Zack Snyder thinks the DC are gods. Zack Snyder wants the dark universe. Like, it was like, that's great, but like, it ended up becoming way more about him, and the Snyder Bros are the Snyder Bros because they're obsessed with him, and by extension his vision. And then with James Gunn, we sort of, it's James Gunn showing up as an animated character in the opening credits of Creature Commandos, James Gunn Superman, James Gunn in this behind the scenes stuff. It's like, you sort of want to just, and you obviously you're going to talk about the director's vision, but it's tweaking it a little bit to go, this is what we're doing with Lois Lane. This is why we're doing this with Superman. Look at how bright these colors are, because James Gunn said he wanted a universe to be like this. And it was just, it's a slight tonal shift, but I do feel like we're sort of in this weird, the world has become Zack Snyder versus James Gunn versus Man of Steel versus Superman. It's sort of this weird thing. And so like, I guess that's what I came away a little bit after watching this, where I was like, just show me my guy, show me Superman.
Well, yeah, why wasn't Corenswet more a part of this trailer? That's the thing too. Yeah. Good.
Well, I guess I am just the sucker for nostalgia that they threw out there. So Superman comes out July 11th, I guess.
You've always been the best of us. You've always been the best of us. You know that. Go ahead. Yes.
And that brings us to another behind the scenes look at this one for Jurassic World Rebirth. This one kind of focuses on the writer David Koepp, and talking about how how Spielberg was like, how would you feel about writing another one of these movies, making another one of these movies? And, we talked to some of the cast. David Koepp talks about a sequence a raft sequence that was in the original 1990 Michael Crichton novel that they've never been able to incorporate. Like, oh, we got to do this. The cynicism that you heard from my colleagues for about Superman is kind of what I felt from this. How they're talking about, like, if you want to like, this is the spirit of Jurassic Park. This is like, if you want those feels that you got in 1993 or 1994 when it came out, this is how we're going to deliver. And I think that's sort of like a tacit admission, like, yeah, that last trilogy, it made a lot of money, but we get that wasn't maybe what you all wanted. So this one left me a little like, meh, okay. But let's throw it over to the bright and sunny. Johnny, what did you think of our behind the scenes look at Jurassic World Rebirth?
Yeah, I'm much more cynical about this one, like you, Shan, than I was about the Superman. At least with the Superman stuff, I enjoyed whatever we got to see in that behind the scenes look of the people on set and people shooting stuff. Even the fun moment with Corn Sweat saying, "My trunks are outside my pants, I can breathe." It's a cute little moment. I like that kind of stuff. Here, this is absolutely damage control. Like, right off the bat, they're trying to be like, no, we got it right this time. We're going back to the first one. Trust us. We know those movies made $1 billion each, but we know a lot of you hated them still. So we are doing it better this time. Trust us. There is nothing I saw in this behind the scenes footage that made me excited to see this movie. Nothing. Those actors are supposed to say everything they're saying on that behind the scenes. And the action didn't, and Gareth did not convince me at all either. And so I came away from this a little bit more trepidatious about the movie than less, which is not what you want, when you're putting out something like this. So unfortunately, I was hoping to enjoy this. And I also think Scarlett doesn't belong in this at all. Just watching her, I'm like, you don't belong here. You belong in better stuff. This is not for you. But, it is what it is, and it's going to come out. So yeah, that's my overall opinion.
Mikey, are you going to be the other side of the coin to Johnny's well-spoken and correct assessment of this behind-the-scenes look? What do you think?
Well, look, we all know that I get excited about anything Jurassic Park, even though the last trilogy's wrong. So yeah, I was excited about this. But also, again, saying that a behind-the-scenes thing that is released has a goal in, we're going to try and convince an audience of something, and saying that's a bad thing is ridiculous. That's what every behind the scenes thing you've ever seen in your life, there's a PR person telling the actor what to say, and they are trying to convince you that this is good. So yes, the fact that everything they've done in every announcement about this movie is to say, we're getting back to basics. We're on an island. We have the guy that wrote the first movie. We're trying to be scary again. Why get mad at them for them saying, we know what you liked and we know we were wrong and we're trying to fix it? Yeah, that's what you should say. So whether they achieve that or not, we will see in July. But a behind the scenes thing that says, yeah, Jurassic Park is supposed to be scary and the first movie was the best written one, and let's put everybody on an island and just get 2 scary dinosaurs. I'm like, yeah, good, great, love it. So I feel again, my issue with the Superman one wasn't that it's a behind the scenes thing that's trying to convince you that Superman is going to be a good movie. It was convincing me more that James Gunn was James Gunn than it was about Superman. This was Jurassic Park. It was everything they're saying. Again, will they be successful? The past 4 to 5 Jurassic Park movies would say no. But what they are saying they want to do is 100% correct. Yes, I do want a movie that feels like the first Jurassic Park. I do want a movie that is scarier. I don't want dinosaurs running all over the world just free to roam, but then have a movie where they're in a brand new park because I don't know why. So everything they're saying is right. I agree that Gareth Edwards does not necessarily fill me with confidence, but the rest of it, I'm I'm on board. I'm obviously the most excited about another Jurassic Park movie of the 3 of us. I also get burned 90% of the time with a Jurassic Park movie. But yeah, I was in. You keep showing me anything, big scary dinosaurs on an island, got to get some DNA. Cool, great. Jonathan Bailey in glasses, sold.
All right, so Vogel's next session of First Degree Burns is coming out July 2nd when Jurassic World Rebirth hits theaters. And periodically there are trailers that I will watch and I'm like, man, I really want to talk about this. Is it geeky? I mean, not necessarily. Does it star people who have been in a lot of geeky things? And the answer to that is yes. And that's how we get that's why we're talking about the trailer for The Roses. This is essentially a remake of The War of the Roses that starred Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner back in the 80s. But this one stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange, and Olivia Colman, from Secret Invasion. But it also stars Ncuti Gatwa, Doctor Who, Andy Samberg, Detective Jake Peralta from a great show that I was in, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. This trailer filled me with so much laughter, and I'm honestly shocked that one of the Geek Buddies was not as entertained as I was. So let's throw it over to that Geek Buddy now. Michael, what did you think of our first look at The Roses?
I thought it looked great. I'm super excited. I can't wait to go see it.
Johnny, I guess he's done.
So full disclosure, we're about to start the episode and we realized we had a little bit more time. And then Shannon said he wanted to talk about this trailer and I hadn't watched it yet. So I popped up YouTube, but I watched it while they watched me watch it. And they were both like, he didn't crack a smile. He didn't laugh. I'm like, yeah, I'm sitting in my bedroom. Like, I'm not like in a full theater where I need to like be performative. I'm just watching a trailer. I thought it was a great trailer. It looks really, really fun. But these two were like, I can't believe he didn't enjoy this. Olivia Colman could read a phone book and I would enjoy it. Like, I think like the whole trailer looks really fun. You get what it is. It's definitely an update on War of the Roses. But to me, yes, Shannon is right. It's like a fucking stacked cast. But all that being said, and Benedict Cumberbatch doing a comedic role looks super fun. This trailer is all about Olivia Colman. Olivia Colman in a comedic role like this, being just a total bitch, like looks fantastic to me. So even if there was nobody else in the movie that I knew except Olivia Colman, I would still go see this movie. And with the cast that it has, it looks really, really great, despite the fact that I wasn't performing like a monkey for my two buddies on video this morning.
So, Johnny, Vogel has basically admitted when he laughs it's a performance. So what did you think?
I mean,
there he goes, hamming it up again. What did you think of our first look at The Roses?
I mean, he's not always the loudest person in the room for nothing. So, yes, I agree with. Well, I mean, Mike, as most things, Michael overstated. I just made a comment right at the end. He didn't laugh once. But yes, for me, I enjoyed this. This was a very fun trailer. I love Olivia Colman, as you said, Michael. I will see her in anything. For those of you who haven't seen, I think it's called Dirty Little Letters that's on Netflix. Highly, highly recommend that. Her and Jessie Buckley are so good in that film. She is incredible. And even in Secret Invasion, her scenes are not the problem with that show. She was great in her scenes. And so her and Benedict Cumberbatch, this is such a great way this is how you remake a classic. You make it completely different while still having the shades of the original. And certainly their banter back and forth about his shrimp dick and all this stuff at the dinner and how long he lasts and the fact that she is becoming more successful than him, that makes it all the more funny. He's seeing someone like Cumberbatch, we've seen play Sherlock Holmes, be a person who's picking up kids' toys in the backyard, who's angry about his life. That adds a really interesting element. And you throw in the fact that she's a chef, so there's a lot of foodie stuff going on. So to me, this is great. I thought the writing was great. Peralta, and I mean, like the scene with Kate McKinnon, who of course is always fantastic, saying that mouthing that she wants to have sex with him was hilarious. So there's a lot of funny moments throughout that makes it clearly distinct from the original. And may I say, probably improves around the original, which I thought was fine, but it's not the best Kathleen Turner, Michael Douglas / Danny DeVito effort. That's Romancing the Stone. So I like the fact
whoa. Why are you hating on Jewel of the Nile?
Jewel of the Nile? Anyway.
There he goes, back on stage, I guess.
What's her name? What's her name in Romancing the Stone? What are they
Joan
saying?
Wilder.
Joan Wilder. Joan Wilder.
The Joan Wilder.
Well, The Roses is directed by Jay Roach of Meet the Parents and Austin Powers fame. I think this one looks super, super funny, and it is coming out August 29th. Now, you've sat through a non-geeky film and also 2 behind-the-scenes look. Now we're getting to a proper geeky trailer with our second look at the Fantastic Four First Steps. We get more of the story in this one. We get our first look at Julia Garner as the Silver Surfer. We get more of what this world, this alternate universe is. And I think I think basically from the look of the world, I think people are pretty happy. We get to see Reed stretch finally, and we get to see more of Joseph Quinn's iffy Johnny Storm wig. So, Mikey, why don't you take it away? What did you think of our second look at the Fantastic Four First Steps?
I mean, this trailer's it's fantastic. It's a great trailer.
Hey.
I mean, the first trailer, the teaser trailer was really, really good, got everybody excited. And this did exactly what a second trailer should do. It kind of expanded on the story a little bit, gave us a little bit more context for what's going on, and showed us more stuff. I mean, getting to really see Julia Garner's Silver Surfer, getting a little bit more of Galactus, kind of contextually understanding the story more, knowing that Franklin Richards being born is a big deal for the family. Like, just across the board, this gave us a lot of goodness. And as geeks who are always trying to figure out what the story is and what's going to be happening, like, it gave us a whole lot to chew on. And we also got to finally see our first shot of Reed Richards stretching, which I think the reason we're not seeing more of it is this is probably the thing they are working on to the last minute. But if the way that they did it in that one shot is any indication, I think we're in for something really, really good. I think the key with those, I was talking to somebody about this last night, the key with that stretchy thing is, and when you do it in real life and you go watch any Fantastic Four live action movie, as soon as you get rid of joints and just make it all like, you know, kind of classic cartoon hoses, it looks silly. And the way that they're doing it, if you look at this shot, you sort of like his knees and his elbows are still kind of in place as he's stretching. And I think that's really a big key to what's going to make that stretching kind of feel different for this movie. So I'm kind of glad that we haven't seen a ton of it, but I'm also really excited to see that in that shot. People on the internet saying the CG on Julia Garner's Silver Surfer is bad are ridiculous. I can't even deal with any of you. Like, that CG looks great. Watching her surf in on a fucking storm or whatever is happening in that one shot, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I think that my hype for Fantastic Four, just based on what I've seen, based on them finally seeming to get it right, based on the concept, and based on what I've heard from people like internally who have seen it and know how excited everyone at Marvel is internally, I couldn't be more excited for this movie. But this trailer absolutely like knocked my socks off.
Johnny, Fantastic Four, First Steps, second look. What'd you think?
Yeah, I loved it. Absolutely. I did a reaction for it this week, and I immediately, as I was done, I put it back on and watched it like 3 or 4 times. It's such a good trailer. This is exactly what, as Michael alluded to, you sense that Marvel has a real confidence behind this movie. And you deliver a trailer like this because you have that kind of confidence behind this movie. I loved everything we got with the new characters, seeing more of them. I love the fact, and this is something I said in my reaction as well, that we know in the comics and we know in the animated series, one of the things that and I think in some of the interpretations, because I've only ever seen these once, in the Fantastic Four, Reed carries a guilt for what happened to them when they went into space, because it was them going into space. He was in charge of the mission and they got these powers. And especially with Ben Grimm, because he is always the one that carries most of the hurt for what happened, becoming a completely different type of entity. And so the fact that it seems like they're all cool being what they are in the trailer, the guilt comes that he might have been the person that brought Galactus and Silver Surfer to his world to possibly threaten his world and destroy his world. And that scene where the reporter goes, "Are we going to be safe?" And he's like, "I don't know." You don't want the smartest man in the world telling you, "I don't know." So you see that he's pained even saying that. So the guilt, they've transferred the guilt, I think, from what happened with the Fantastic Four to what he might be doing here and bringing Galactus to his planet and possibly leading it to its destruction, which will be something to carry over into Secret Wars and Doomsday. So I am super excited to see what we're going to see with his journey. But Sue as well, having the baby, all of this stuff, she's clearly keeping the family together, as most mothers do in most families. So I like that energy and that element. I agree with you on Johnny. And what are we waiting for with Herbie? How amazing is his voiceover performance that we can't fucking finally hear it in a trailer? I don't understand hiding it in a trailer. It made no sense to me at all. And I love Eben Moss Backrack's real voice coming out of Ben, which we haven't seen before. It's always a gruffy, I'm clobbering time. I like that it's a regular voice, so it's a good change.
Yeah, I actually do. I mean, to your point, I love that. I love that Ben Grimm has like a regular voice. I also love, to your point, that we are kind of just sidestepping the entire Ben Grimm going through his feels about being a rock. Like kids love Ben Grimm. Little girl in the trailer has a Thing action figure. Like Ben Grimm is not seen by people as a monster. He is a hero. The Fantastic Four are all heroes in this world. We're coming in at a time where the entire world has embraced them for being the defenders of the earth that they are. So I think that's all awesome. I think that's great. And I agree with you that like kind of focusing Reed's attention more on the things that are happening here. It just seems like skipping over the origin story, just like they did with the Spider-Man trilogy, it seems to work for them. It seems to go like, we get who these characters are. Let's move on and tell a brand new story. Seems to be a formula that really allows them to cook something special. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you both bring up some very good points. Johnny, I think we don't necessarily going to hear a voice. I think that I think Herbie might be talks. Herbie might be R2D2. But also
all right.
The thing that
we don't know who she, well,
Reed.
I think she's Ben Grimm's girlfriend.
She's Alicia Masters.
Alicia Masters. Yeah, I hear you. Okay, all right.
But no, I mean, the uncertainty of the most certain man on the planet is something to be terrified of. So I think you absolutely nailed that. And really, I think this trailer really focuses on the fact that Sue is the leader. I mean, when 100%. The Silver Surfer calls out, are you the Guardians? And Sue is the one that steps up and says yes. And at the end, when they're highlighting each of their powers, she is the last one that we see. So again, I'm very, very excited for this, despite, again, Joseph Quinn's iffy blonde wig. Mike, you got something else?
Yeah, I now think John Malkovich is old Franklin Richards, also based on this trailer. Not we didn't see John Malkovich in this trailer, but we know John Malkovich is in the movie. There's been a lot of conjecture about who he is, but given the focus on Franklin Richards being born, given Galactus coming in, given the relationship between Franklin and Galactus in the comics, and Franklin Richards' powers, and how Franklin Richards plays a major role in Secret Wars, I have a feeling John Malkovich is in some weird way like old Franklin Richards or some shit. Like, I'm just going to throw that out there now. We will see.
Nice prediction.
And is Paul Walter Hauser Mole Man?
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
I do think that what they're doing, some people have conjectured in that scene where the Silver Surfer shows up and they're in Times Square. First of all, retro Times Square with giant TVs instead of billboards is amazing. But also, they're standing on a giant, like it looks like a ceremonial manhole. It's got something on it. It's really big. And the first issue of Fantastic Four, which was the Mole Man attacking, he attacked in Times Square. And so there's a lot of people that are like, oh, is this like the place where? And so I do think that since we're seeing the Fantastic Four as already established, and as the Entertainment Weekly article that we talked about last week said, they've kind of like fixed everything. Like the world is pretty great. I kind of feel like we might see Mole Man not as a villain, that maybe it's in a flashback, maybe it's in newsreels, maybe he shows up, they go see him in like, I don't know what it is, but I don't think he's going to be another bad guy to fight. I think that given the let's establish who they are, let's show how great the world is, let's have Silver Surfer show up, let's deal with some cosmic shit. I don't know that there's time for the Mole Man to be like, I'm going to defeat them too. But I think that contextually, we will see him as someone that was one of the first people that they did defeat.
All right. So Paul Walter Hauser is Mole Man. Or John Malkovich is old Franklin Richards. Johnny, you got something?
Or he's the Mole Man. I don't know. Or he's the voice of Herbie. We will see. But we did.
Hey, it's me, Herbie, Natasha Lyonne. You might see me on Poker Face, but let me help you make some dinner, Ben Grimm.
Also a good trailer, Poker Face season 2 this week. But there was a shot in the trailer, I don't know if you guys missed it, that showed Malkovich playing Galactus for control of the MCU. So we did see a shot of that there. He was splashing the pot.
The Fantastic Four First Steps comes out July 25th.
It does. Real quick, 30 seconds. Did you like the new Thunderbolts trailer? It was much more emotional, and it was very clear that it is focused, like the Fantastic Four, on Sue Storm. This is very much Florence Pugh's movie, it feels like. What do you guys think? Real quick, 30 seconds.
Yes. The jukebox that they are going through for all of these trailers, they are succeeding, and the fact that they used Queen's Under Pressure for this one, I didn't expect to shed a tear in Thunderbolts, but who knows? Maybe it's going to happen.
Mikey, 30 seconds. Your thoughts real quick.
Yeah, we debated even talking about this or not, because I don't know at this point we can talk about the Thunderbolts anymore with all the footage and trailers we've seen, but it was an excellent trailer. And when I went to go see Sinners last night in the IMAX and they showed the Thunderbolts trailer, not that like people cheered and yelled and screamed, but you can always tell when you're in an audience when people are with a trailer or not with a trailer.
Yeah.
And everyone in that packed theater for Sinners, because there was not a single open seat, was with that trailer. Like, I think the 1-2 look, they might shit the bed with Doomsday and Secret Wars. I don't know what is going to happen, but I think that we are, at least my prediction is, we are into a really nice, we're getting into a really nice 1-2 summer punch with Marvel, where I don't know that it's going to bring fans fully back for fans who are kind of past it and don't love Marvel anymore. But I think Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four together are going to really get a lot of people hyped and back on the MCU train.
Yep. I agree. Well, speaking of Marvel, let's move on to our big spoiler review finale for Daredevil Born Again Season 1. We got the return of Frank Castle here as Punisher. Oh, so Red. And we also got to see Kingpin here taking full control of the city, staging a blackout. Instead of being happy that Matt saved him, he tried to get Matt killed and then used the blackout to essentially take control of the city. And then he also smashed this dude's head into smithereens. We saw the return of Karen Page, and we saw the preview of what is to come here in season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. Oh, and Frank kicked the shit out of a lot of cops and killed a lot of cops who were wearing his symbol in this finale. So, Michael, your thoughts? What do you think of this finale? What worked for you? What didn't work for you? The Kingpin storyline, the Daredevil, all of that. Let's talk about it. What do you got?
It was I definitely liked episode 8 more than episode 9.
Oh, wow.
But I really enjoyed episode 9. I think, like, as a season, this season is like an experiment that you can just study over time. Like, this season is not a good season of TV. But what was amazing with this final episode, and a little bit episode 8, and then really this episode, was watching the new showrunners clean house of what they didn't want and bring in what they did want. Like, it was so clear, like, especially when they blew up Matt's apartment, that was with one grenade. I was like, they really hated that fucking IKEA apartment that Matt Murdock was living in. But like, kind of watching this episode 8 and 9 it's fascinating to watch a show come in and switch gears so rapidly to set the stage. Like, I'll say ultimately, although this season was not ultimately successful because of the hodgepodge that it was, these last 2 episodes, this particularly the finale, felt a little bit rushed, a little bit like burning through stuff to get where they wanted to get to, but just to get them set up for where they want to go in season 2. And the finale did make me excited for what's coming next. Like, you know, Punisher showing up because Karen called him, and then Karen flying across country, and you sort of get all of a sudden the love triangle between Punisher, Karen, and Matt, because Matt can hear their heartbeats and he can totally tell they're both into each other. And you're like, cool, this wasn't anywhere else in the season, and Karen had dipped out, but like, now that she's back, I'm into this. This is new stuff, but this is really, really cool. And, you know, Muse, leave him in the garbage bin. Don't know where Bullseye got off to. I do think Kingpin knocking out all power to the city seemed like a big move for the guy that has been sort of just like, I'm trying to be a mayor and I'm going to do things the right way. Fuck it. Let's burn it down. Like, it was a big move. And I also question, even as they're trying to go for Kingpin is like, fuck it, I can do what I want, I'm the Kingpin. Like, crushing a man's head with an audience seemed like a bold move. Like, in season, like, what I've always liked about it is in season 1 of Daredevil, we saw him get so mad that he crushed somebody's head.
Right,
but
in the door.
Yeah, in the door. And it was brutal. But it was also like he did it there. And then, like, even within the crime community, there was like, did you hear that Wilson Fisk crushed a man's head? No, that's like a rumor. He couldn't have crushed a man's head. Like, no, maybe he did. And the fact that he invited the police chief to a building where everybody was, and he's like, hey, come here. I was like, okay, maybe that's a little bit much. But as rushed as everything was, it was like, you're finally giving me the stuff that I want to see. Watching Matt and Frank fight a bunch of cops in Matt's apartment. Frank and Matt's relationship. His whole like, oh, you don't even have coffee, Red. Like, fuck you. Like, just all the vibe between them. And even though Karen kind of like flew back out of nowhere, like I said, having her back was great. Like, and like when Matt woke up in the hospital and said her name instead of Heather's, I was like, fuck yeah, you did. We all know, like, get out of here, Heather. So it was like I could nitpick the episode and go, it was a little rushed. Here's things that didn't work. Would Frank really run in and like just fight a bunch of cops and not like actually take them out strategically? Probably not. But like to get him trapped, to get what we needed to get, like I was like, yeah, I'm fucking in on all of this. And I really, for a season that I didn't enjoy a lot of, I'm very excited for season 2.
Okay. Shannon, your thoughts on what we got here in this finale, and feel free to talk about whatever you want to talk about on this.
I mean, you definitely get the sense of what could have been. I mean, I think if we had been in on the Matt Heather relationship throughout the season, if they did have just kind of like a more pliable chemistry, I think that moment when he does say Karen, that hits so hard, because it hit hard even now. Like, and I would say most of the folks watching aren't really into the Matt Heather relationship. You still felt bad for him. I mean, Margareta Levieva like had a great moment when he said Karen, and even Kirsten had some nice moments in that hospital room where she's like, it is the drugs. And then later after Heather leaves and she goes, look, we got to have a serious conversation. Like, you start to believe that relationship. John Bernthal as Frank Castle. I mean, come on. I did think like the action scene where the cops are coming into Matt's apartment. I wish they hadn't done so much of Frank in slow-mo, because he's really leaning into the Stallone. And I think one guttural yell, one primal scream, I'm like, man, that's that you feel that throughout the scene. It's almost like Daredevil's like, you're really throwing my radar off, buddy. Can you quiet down just a little bit? And I'm sure there's probably a thematic reason why most of Daredevil's action in that sequence was regular speed, whereas Frank's was slow-mo. I didn't pick up on it. But ultimately, I did like the scene. I mean, them jumping out of the building. And yes, not that I'm a munitions expert, but I do agree with Vogel. I don't know if one grenade would take off a floor of a building.
It does when the showrunners hate that apartment.
I did think it was funny when Gallo showed up and, flanked by cops, as well as the mayor, in a room filled with plastic. It's like, yeah, maybe you're probably not walking out of this one, pal.
You never seen Snatch? Don't go in that room.
Yeah. You seen Dexter? Yeah, you're not. You're not coming out. You're coming out of there, just not the way you came in. But the sort of graphic nature, the fact that we actually saw the results of the squish just like grape. I mean, that was something else. I liked Karen showing up. There was a small, and I knew this wasn't going to happen, but when that car shows up, I'm like, all right, it's Jessica, Luke, and Danny. It's like, no, I guess it's Karen works too. Karen works too. But yeah, that moment after that, when Karen is sewing Matt up and him picking up on the fact that, oh, there's a thing here between Karen and Frank. It's like, and I don't know how to feel about it. I do agree with Vogel. Like it tees up the next season really, really well. And the fact that Wilson Fisk addresses, the public in his white kingpin suit. I mean, he's got his tie, but he's wearing that white kingpin suit. That gives us an indication of where, the next season is going to go.
Yeah, I liked this finale. I'm the opposite, Michael. I like this finale more than episode 8, but I enjoy them both together. Like 8 and 9, 1, 8, and 9. These are the episodes of the season, and I thoroughly enjoy it. It's a great way to end. People remember how you land, how you stick the landing. So you can get through the middle, but how you stick the landing is important. And I think, and I'm with both of you, they stuck the landing enough for me to get excited for season 2. because these are the people that are going to be in charge. I think the Kirsten thing was not an accident. I think she's going to be a bigger part of season 2, us needing to have a conversation after this. That pretty much alludes to that. And I hope they've heard the criticism that she's been a really underwritten character and that we're going to see more from her. Cherry's going to do his thing. You don't need to have too much with Cherry. You got enough. Kirsten, I think certainly we need to have a little bit more established. I agree that Heather is a massive fumble in this entire season. That relationship should have meant more so that when he does say her name, we do feel that, but also her becoming her like willfully accepting this position, willfully pushing back against the Fisks. That should have been much more of a battle, much more of an issue between them. But she accepts being the head of the mental health department there really easily. These are people you are counseling, and now you're going to take the job. Really, you've done no research on Wilson Fisk and his past and all the accusations, any illusions and stuff. It's not it's way too quick for her to have accepted this job. So for me, it's a little bit like, what's really going on here? But they didn't do enough to lay the groundwork for her for us to understand why she would take it, right? And there may be a reason for it, but I don't think it was established as strongly as it could have been, in my opinion. And their relationship is a part of that as well. I'm sure blowing up the apartments about them, symbolically saying it's the end of his old life. He's now becoming Daredevil. I love him and Frank fighting in that apartment. I mean, come on. Frank is my spirit animal. Fuck yes. Everything he did as shooting everybody, killing everybody. Fuck yes. It was brilliant. It was awesome. It was old school Daredevil. I loved it. And Daredevil pushing back. And that moment where Cole North was against the wall and he's like saying all these things to get him to shoot him and he won't do it. And he stands in front and says, "You're going to take a bullet for him too? And is this the new thing you're doing now?" So you see that there is still a Daredevil here who is good, who wants to do the right thing, who, although he's struggling through the whole season with his Christianity, with Catholicism, with doing right and wrong, what works, what doesn't work, working within a system, he still believes in doing the right thing. And that's an important element to balance out. Frank, I agree with you, Shane. I loved Karen coming back and having that moment, hearing the heartbeats and all of that. It's a nice triangle. If you're not going to have Wolverine and Jean Grey and Cyclops, I'll take this triangle. I like this triangle as well. But Sheila's an interesting character. Sheila is a survivor. Sheila turned Gallo in. They played that tape. I mean, look, Gandolfini was horrible in that scene with the council. It was so stupid. But like him, but but he's great in warfare, by the way. Great in warfare. Just didn't like him in the series at all. But her turning him in is so interesting. And it's, of course, this whole season is a commentary about fascism, about someone taking over and manipulating the levers of power to control and isolate a city, putting people only loyal to him in positions of power, and people not fighting back, people not resisting. And it's not a coincidence that at the end he's talking about resisting. And Sheila is an element of that. She assimilates to survive, but people need to stand up and fight back regardless. And so I think it was great to end on these conflicts that we'll explore in season 2 a bit more. Anything else? Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would push back on the Heather thing a little bit. Like, Heather's like least finally interesting. And again, it's not like again, this was that where everything was rushed because the showrunners were like, let's move everything around to where we need it. So I completely accept episode 8. Heather was like, I fucking hate vigilantes now. Muse and Daredevil are both the same. Vigilantes are horrible. It's a bunch of little boys running around in costumes, and I'm the one that saved myself. Okay, Heather. And then episode 9, Wilson Fisk is like, I want you to join me. You're no longer my therapist because we got rid of that in episode 8, and I want you to join me. And she's like, yeah, you're the guy who's anti-vigilante. I fucking hate vigilantes now. I join you. Even though I hated Heather and Matt's relationship and thought it was just written horribly throughout the season, now having Matt's ex-girlfriend working for Wilson Fisk and being a completely loyal, I hate vigilantes, I support Fisk in season 2, great use for Heather. She might finally be interesting. Like, she might be cool now. So yeah, absolutely rushed. Absolutely. They could have nuanced it, except they didn't have the time. They had the 2 episodes. So I think they at least got her to the point where I'm like, yeah, I understand why she did that. And with Kirsten too, maybe she'll have a bigger role. She deserves a bigger role. Great actress. Yeah. She absolutely deserves more to do, but they could go either way with that. Like, they might just be clearing deck. Like, I think that nobody was a really big fan of Matt living in a new fancy apartment outside of Hell's Kitchen, and nobody was really a fan of Matt having some fancy law firm. People want Matt Murdock in a crappy apartment in Hell's Kitchen working with Karen and Foggy or somebody like Foggy. And I wonder if like this is just Kirsten says we're going our separate ways. Maybe she gets to play a role as continuing to be a high-powered lawyer, but I think that we're angling towards Matt being back in an office with Karen, having a lot of tension while Frank Castle is going around. Like I think that's kind of where things are more likely headed. And then, as 90,000 memes on Twitter have pointed out, when he was like, "We need to fight back," and he walks in a room, and you've got Cherry and Josie and some randos, it's like, no, this is like vigilantes versus Kingpin. Like, we need the defenders. It would be great if we could have Spider-Man. I know all the reasons we can't, but it would be, can you imagine if Spidey dropped out of the sky and Tom Holland was like, let's do some shit? But yeah, like I think that as we get into season 2, like they definitely brought Swordsman into this mix and he's in there with Frank Castle. So we're going to see Swordsman, I think, become an actual character and not just sort of window dressing as the only vigilante that we could pull out in time. And then hopefully we get Luke Cage, we get Jessica Jones, like we get young White Tiger kind of replacing her uncle. Like I think that those are the things that we didn't get there in season 1 at the end of season 1 with everybody standing there because I think it would have been too big of a jump. But I'm hoping that what we are gearing up for in season 2 is really that.
Yeah. I mean, certainly artwork has been going around for people who are excited of what could be in season 2. If they make the decision to go with the Defenders, you get shots like this, which I think are pretty cool when you look at it. And of course, homie's still begging to be Iron Fist again. So who knows? Well, that's going to go down.
He is not going to be Iron Fist.
And speaking of Heather, you guys said this through our chat. I thought you should share in case anybody missed this one. I'm inevitable and I saved myself. Yeah, that's right. That's Heather.
That one, there. But I've also saw one where it was her like saying Matt, and then he goes, Karen, and then it's her staring at him, and he goes, Elektra? And she's staring at him, and he goes, She-Hulk?
I mean, but I will push back on your pushback because she should have had the conversation with Matt before, like that. He just got shot. She said, "I'll check in with you when you're feeling better," and she doesn't even check in with him before she takes the. Not that a woman needs to check in with a man she's dating to take a job, of course, independence, autonomy, and all of that. But he just took a bullet for this guy. Maybe a conversation with him.
So if you were the executive and you gave me that note, I would then show you my script that's already running long, and I would be like, okay, Matt escaped. So Sheila says, we'll talk about this later. She leaves and goes to Heather says that. And then the power goes out. Matt runs out of the hospital. Acrobats his way down to Hell's Kitchen with his ass hanging out, meets Frank Castle, fights, meets Karen. Like, where in my script that takes place in this one night is Heather supposed to find Matt and have a conversation with him?
I'll move the Gandolfini scene completely out because you know why. And I will have her go to the apartments and Matt is there and they have an interaction and then Frank shows up. And
she goes to the apartment that's exploded and says, hey, Matt, let's sit down and talk.
Before the explosion, Matt shows up because she said, we'll talk later. She goes to their apartment to like detox or like kind of think about everything. Hey, you asked the question. Hey, the answer. So then Matt shows up. They're there together. Then they have the conversation. She storms out. Frank comes in, having sat on the windowsill and listened to that outside the door, which Matt heard. And then they have their conversation. So that's my fix.
Okay.
Kick the Gandolfini scene out of there.
We'll see. I can tell you what scene's going to get cut real quick when we're tight on time. But okay.
I tell you, well, if I'm the executive, I'm telling you, it's not going to get cut. All right. Anyway, anything more to say on this episode that we missed? Anything more you guys want to comment on the messaging or the allusions to where they're going in season 2?
No, look, I think it was rushed and messy. But this whole season has been it's almost like watching week to week a show fall apart and build itself back up as two different teams are sort of vying for control. So as messy as it was, I think in general, and this seems to be the general take of most people online, which is, did I love everything this season? No. But to your point, did they stick the landing enough that they got me excited for what's coming next? And I think in that respect, they did. And knowing that this is the first show that Marvel's done in their TV side, that they're really planning that this is a seasonal show, not just something that takes place between movies. Like for them, they want a Daredevil season 2, 3, 4, and on. And so I think that being the case, they have the better team moving forward, and I'm excited to see what comes next.
Yeah, Shannon, the Vulture said, this is, you can look at it as they planned this for 18 episodes. This is the Empire Strikes Back ending that leads us into season 2. Do you agree with that? And also, we haven't talked about Vanessa. Like Vanessa having hired Bullseye. I mean, that's a big thing that will be carrying over into season 2 as well. Will she vie for power when Kingpin starts to stumble? So what are your final thoughts here as we wrap up?
No, those two, they are unified. They are reunified. Those two are going to be the villainous couple that rule New York.
Vanessa and Kingpin are ride or die.
Yeah, I mean the fact that he took her down to his little dungeon and they get to have a dinner where she killed what's his name, Lieutenant Pucci. No, I think they have the right ingredients. They have the right ingredients. They didn't have the recipe quite correct for first season, but hopefully now hopefully now they know exactly what they want to do going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think the table's been set really well in terms of where the storylines and the conflicts that we're going to be exploring in season 2. And we'll see who else becomes a part of season 2. I think Lily Taylor was announced as a new addition to the cast. So it'll be interesting to bring that old school independent acting actress into this. I like her energy. Always good to see her being a part of stuff. So, because I liked her in that first season of Perry Mason as well. She's really good. All right. Well, there you go. That's our episode of the Geek Buddies for this weekend. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it madly. Shannon, what do we have to tell these fine folks?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies. On Instagram, at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at @Shannon_McClung. On Instagram, at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is at MKToon. If you'd like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is at the Rocha Says.
Mikey.
Go ahead and smash that like button below. Subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. Check out all the amazing content he has got over there. Leave your comments below. Let us know, what are you excited about with Star Wars Celebration? Which trailers are you excited about? Which behind-the-scenes things are you excited about? And what did you think of Shannon's cute little non-geeky trailer? Let us know what you thought of Daredevil. And if you're listening to us on a podcast, leave us some stars and comments to go up in the rankings and more people can find us. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies. Ha ha! Ha ha!
Exit stage left.
There you go. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the
Geek
Buddies.